David here with Figboot on Pens, back again with another fountain pen review. Today I have for you a review of a brand which was new to me. It's always interesting to take a look at a new brand to see what they bring to the table, and that brand is Gioia. Gioia is a fairly new brand. It was founded back in 2014 by a gentleman by the name of Fabio Servasio and is based out of Naples, Italy. Gioia is the Italian word for joy. The pen I have for you today is one of their Alleria models, and it's called Mare Chiaro. What I'm going to do today is go over the parts and features of this pen, talk about what I care for and what I don't care for about it. I'll show some measurements, size comparisons, and provide a writing sample. Thanks go out to the good folks at the Italian retailer Stilo & Stile for providing this pen for review. And stay tuned to the end of the review where I'll let you know about a discount code they are providing for any Gioia products on their site. The pen arrives in this unique box. I know it might be a little hard to see with the lighting here, but it's lightly engraved with the company name. This box is reminiscent of those produced by Delta a few years back while they were still around. Now, Gioia as a brand, to the best of my knowledge, does not have any significant relations to Delta in regard to ownership or management, but you can imagine that in the area there were other employees of Delta which found work with other manufacturers in the area. So I can understand how some stylistic elements from Delta might have woven their way through this company's offerings. The elastic comes off, as it did with Delta boxes. Actually, on Delta boxes, it was like more of a hinge. It would kind of like hinge up, but it just comes off on these boxes. Inside, we have a little use and care guide, and then inside this little bow tie cutout, the pen resides. And here is the pen. This is the Gioia Alleria. Alleria is the name of the make, and then the Mare Chiaro is the name of the model. This model is named after a song by a famous Italian singer from Naples by the name of Pino Daniele. I believe Alleria translates to something like happiness or something closely related to that. The model, Mare Chiaro, relates from Italian to mean clear sea. I hope I'm not butchering these Italian names too much. The pen is made from resin with rhodium-plated trim. The deep blue resin is meant to evoke the emotional power of a clear sea on a fresh summer day. Let's start by taking a look at the cap. The top is flat. Right below that, we have the clip band. Then attached to that, logically enough, is the clip. The clip is an interesting shape. It begins rather wide and rather flat. Then it angles up and then tapers into something more traditionally narrow, kind of with a bulbous tip. It's almost like two different clip designs were mashed together. The cap is straight and concludes with a set of dual bands. There is a small step down to the barrel. The barrel begins with a rhodium-plated band and is straight. The middle of the barrel, it is engraved with the Gioia brand name. I'll show you more during the writing sample when you can see it up close and in action, but this material really does have a lot of chatoyance to it and displays a lot of character as the light hits it in different ways. At the end of the barrel, there is another band and then a rounded step down to the piston knob. And then the end of the barrel is flat. The cap twists off in half a rotation, and underneath we have this number 6 Jovo stainless steel nib, engraved with the company name. This nib is available in extra fine, fine, medium, broad, and both 1.1 and 1.5 millimeter stubs. And here's a look at the plastic feed. The main portion of the section is straight and then stair steps up to the remainder of the barrel. The section begins with the cap threads, which for me is both a plus and a minus. The positive is that the threads are out of the way. I don't find my grip rests on them at all. And it's nice to have a smooth back end to the section. The downside of this design is that when you ink up the pen, ink is going to get into these little threads, and only wiping it off with a dry tissue will usually not do the trick. You need to use a wet tissue or a wet ink rag in order to fully remove the residual ink. And sometimes that extra step is a bit of a pain. But when you do use something wet, then the threads clean up just fine. I do find this section to be very comfortable though, and the pen is plenty long enough to use unposted, which is a good thing because even though this pen is designed to post, doing so doesn't provide the best of looks. To begin with, it does add an inordinate amount of length to this pen. Now the cap is fairly light, so even though it's rather long, I don't feel it backweights the pen or throws off the balance. What's not a good thing though is that the cap could stand to post a bit deeper. It leaves this rather unattractive gap. So I prefer to use this pen unposted. Now, previously I mentioned the piston knob. This is a piston filler. This pen is inked up right now, so I won't twist it, but I do find the piston mechanism to be smooth and works well. The Gioia Alleria is available on the Stilo and Stile site for 159 euros, which equates to about $180. And I find that to be a reasonable price for what you receive with this pen. If you use the discount code Figboot10 on the site, you can get 10% off of any Gioia products that they offer. Something else that's nice is that this pen qualifies for free international shipping. That's always a concern when you are ordering from somewhere outside of your country of residence. How much extra will get tacked on to the price of the pen for shipping. But in the case of this pen, that would be a big fat zero. I'll put a link in the notes below where you can check out this pen on the Stilo and Stile site, as well as the rest of their offerings. Big thanks go out to them for providing this pen for review. Okay, now it is time for some measurements, size comparisons, and a writing sample. So here we have some size comparisons for the Gioia Alleria. I mentioned it before, but when this hits the light, there's a lot of chatoyance to it. So the material really comes to life when you have some light on it. But in regard to how it compares to some other models, this is with a Lamy 2000 in stainless steel. And this is a Platinum 3776 in the carnelian red. And then next up is a pen that I just received that I haven't even tested out yet, but it's from a Turkish brand by the name of Click. And I look forward to getting a closer look at this and seeing how this pen performs. It has a really nice band. I like this band on here. And a nice combination of two different resins. Then in regard to a couple of other pens I'm going to be reviewing in the near future, we have a Le Bon Skeleton, and that's in the rainbow. And then we have a Penlux Masterpiece, and this is, I believe it's called the Blue Wave. I just really like the resin here. It's really sharp looking. And then finally, I had another pen from Gioia, and this is the Partenope. And you can see that this one has some nice creamy resin to it, kind of creamy white and with an Italian theme. There's a cityscape here. And then something that's interesting about this pen is that you can go ahead and trade this out, and it comes with a ballpoint or a roller ball. Actually, I'm not quite sure yet. I haven't tested this out. But it comes with that, and it's nice to be able to interchange those. So that's what it looks like in comparison to the Alleria. In regard to some uncapped comparisons, this is what it looks like with the Lamy 2000 and the Platinum 3776. And then finally here is the Penlux Masterpiece. So here we go with the writing sample for the Gioia, Gioia, and this is Alleria. And this is a medium stainless steel nib. And the ink I'm using is one from Stilo and Stile. And this is the Roman, Praetorian, Blue, BLU. Oh, the Praetorian Guards were actually the personal guards and intelligence agents for the Roman emperors. This is what the ink looks like. It's a nice deep blue, something very similar to Diamine's Oxford blue, or even Three Oysters Min. This is what the bottle looks like. It's 30 milliliters. I like the looks of this bottle, but it is rather shallow. So in practicality purposes, if you have a longer nib, it's a little bit tougher to get a full fill out of here. But Stilo & Stile does offer a number of really nice inks. And here we go with the rest of the writing sample. This is a pretty much standard Jowo number 6 nib and performs as such. You're not going to get a lot of line variation out of here. In regard to ink flow, it's pretty healthy. And in regard to reverse writing, it's a little scratchy, but it lays down a nice extra fine line. In regard to some fast writing, the feed keeps up just fine. So there we have the Gioia Alleria. I mentioned it before, but make sure to take a look at the notes below where you can see a link to find this product on the Stilo & Stile site. And then there's that 10% discount code, which is nice. I also mentioned it at the top of the review, but it's interesting to check out a brand that you hadn't looked at previously. And that I feel that this Alleria is a really nice offering. And so I look forward to seeing what Gioia comes out with in the future. Okay, until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.